I first started this code by importing libraries. I imported NumPy to help working with numerical data, especially later on with the code with importing arrays. I then imported Matpilot, which creates visuals like graphs, plots for plasma concentration later on in the graph. After that, some general print statements were used explaining the exhibition and the patron types. An if-else statement was then used to determine the patron type of the user from their input. So you can see here, I've used a if-else statement. If the patron type equals 1, then they are a science rookie. If not, then they are an enthusiast. After that, an if-else statement was used to test the patron's knowledge on scopolamine. After they imported their guess, the if-else statement would run, giving them a statement explaining why their answer is correct or wrong based on the input they gave. Since to do this, it would require an input from the user, a function was defined as to take their guess as an input and was called upon at the end to actually run. So you can see there, that's my function, and I've called upon it here, main, so that it actually runs at the end. The next section of my code is designed for the science enthusiast with the graphing stage. This was aimed to model the concentration of scopolamine in the bloodstream over time, following the two different administration routes, then plot the data to see how it compares. I started off by defining the time points as time_hours, and then added the corresponding plasma concentration for both routes into an array to match the amount of plasma for each point. So you can see I've done that there. Those are my arrays. That's the raw data that I got given. And those are the time intervals, which are going to go on the x-axis and then the y-axis. To observe the theoretical models, I used Matplot to plot the raw data points for the IV and in concentration. The plot includes labeling, a grid, and a legend for readability. I also added a title and axis labels to describe what the graph represents, a comparison of scopolamine concentrations over time for different administration methods. I plotted the experimental data for IV and in concentration using the O markers, which you can see there, the O markers, and I've distinguished blue, red, green, purple for a bit more clarity. I then plotted model curves using smooth data points and corresponding model outputs using different colors and line distinguishments, which I've just talked about, which are all here. I've labeled it, and I've increased the line width to 2 for a bit more readability. Finally, I used a print statement to summarize the main observations that I drew from the graph, which was that IV administration results in a faster absorption time compared to the in route, which I've just absorbed here, which I've just written down here, which summarizes the results from the graphs.